Thanks, Masiej, for the introduction. And this is my second time here, so thanks for the opportunity to speak as well. And thanks everyone for joining in. I know probably this is the last presentation, so we've done quickly. And yeah, it has been an interesting flow today because we talked about proof of work, then we talked about proof of stake chains, and now I'm going to talk about chain abstraction. And anybody here has heard this term before? Like, just raise your hand. Oh, awesome. There are some people. Interesting. Yeah, so it's kind of counterintuitive that we haven't spoken about chain so much or blockchain so much from adoption perspective, and yet we are here talking about chain abstraction. And I'll try to keep it simple and fun for everyone, right? Brief introduction about myself. I am Siddharth. I lead strategic initiatives at Socket Protocol, which is building the first chain abstraction protocol. Briefly about my background, I've been in the space since 2017. Mostly started with trading assets with friends like Bitcoin, Ripple, Litecoin in 2017. 2021, I saw my Twitter timeline filled with people having laser eyes in their PFP, and I was like, wait, what's happening? And I realized, okay, Bitcoin went up to 70K, and I was like, how and why? And I dig deeper, and that's when I kind of got married to technology in a way that, okay, if we want to move away from a world of institutions and I have more decentralized infrastructure in place, blockchain is a way to go about it. I joined Polygon Labs later that year. I worked there for 2.5 years, mostly focusing on ecosystem growth. I work with a lot of centralized exchanges like Coinbase, Binance, and probably all the top 10, 15 to sort of how can different projects building on-chain work closely with these exchanges to onboard more users. And then second, I also focus on building NFT ecosystem at Polygon. So was very close with NFT as a technology as well and what you can do with them. However, I moved out earlier this year and I have been working with Socket on the chain abstraction side, right? So yeah, I think before I get into chain abstraction, I just probably would want to talk about like where we are. Sorry, I just figuring out the navigation, right? Yeah, so this is where we are. So there are lots of chains. I think few years ago, probably 2017, there were two major chains, Ethereum, Bitcoin, like chains that work. 2021, we had few more chains that come up. Polygon was probably one of the ones that did really well. 2022, we have optimistic rollups do really well. So we had Arbitrum and Optimism, and then everyone came up with these stacks where you can easily launch chain. And today, like it's very easy to launch a proof of stake chain, right? I mean, with DAs, with all these rollup as a service providers, the cost of launching a chain is essentially 200K USD per year. It's like very cheap today. So everyone is launching a chain. Like I looked at DeFi Llama, it had 300 listed chains, and then also 87 rollups are coming up, right? And this is mostly EVM ecosystem. So there is Polkadot ecosystem, there is AVAX ecosystem, there is Bitcoin L2s. So yeah, we are moving into a world of more chains, right? And what happens when you have more chains, you have liquidity fragmentation. So you have people with assets on different chains. For example, ETH is on so many ETH L2s, right? I mean, and as a user, that's not helping me a lot because now if I want to do some action for example, if I want to run a node and stake ETH, that can only be done on Ethereum, but I have my ETH on 10 different chains. So what do? Right? I need to find a way to get them all in one place. So that's one thing, like liquidity fragmentation. So you have and if people are not familiar with TVL, that's in a way like asset under in a chain. So it's total value logged in a chain. So 200 chains are 100K USD plus of TVL. Again, not helping, right? If concentrated across a few chains, but then spread out a lot of chains, right? Second thing, or another problem that we have because of more chains is asset fragmentation. And to give a perspective, like USDC is natively issued right now on 18 chains, and there is a bridged version on 92 chains, right? So if I want to send USDC to you, firstly, okay, we need to figure out which chain it is on. Second, we need to figure out which version it is on, right? Is it like some wrapped version, some bridged version, and all that, right? And so broken UX, I was trying to write more about it, but I thought by this point of time, it's fairly understood. So different chains have different requirements, there are different wallets, there are different gas tokens. So if as a user, especially if you are like active on-chain, the on-chain journey is very painful, right? And cross-chain can't keep up. And like while we are at cross-chain, I'm just curious, like how many here have assets on more than one chain? Like quick show of hands, like, and how many people have used a bridge to move asset from one chain to another? Right? Oh, interesting. And anybody has a good bridge story to share, or a bad bridge story to share?
Bungee's pretty good, isn't it?
But oh, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, so Bungee is like one of the products that Socket team built. So yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, so bridge in general is actually painful. One, it takes a lot of time to bridge. They are getting faster, but still not that seamless. Second, you might end up in a case where you're left with an asset which you don't know what to do with. So your transaction wouldn't get fulfilled on both the source and destination. And third, there are a lot of risks, right? Like bridges get hacked a lot. In fact, Bungie also had an issue earlier this year, so we are cognizant of that, right? So we don't want users to bridge assets because bridging is not the best thing to do. So cross-chain is not keeping up, especially cross-chain worked well if there are like 5 or 10 chains, but we are moving into a world of 1,000 chains, right? So as a user, if I want to like go from chain A to chain B, it's gonna be a painful process figuring out like where the application is, for example. And then last problem is where the devs build, right? So if there are 2 chains, it's easier, okay, like which chain has more users, which chain is offering me more support. But in a world of 1,000 chains, how do you decide like where do I go up and build, right? So this is where we are, right? This is a very interesting tweet which I picked up. It says, why does it matter what chain my funds are on? I have all kinds of monies in my wallet. Like just take whichever you want. Right. Don't make me go to a bridge to change, like swap asset and then get an asset which you accept, right? So this is the biggest problem of crypto right now. So what's chain abstraction, right? In very simple terms, it's about abstracting on-chain complexities for users and developers, right? So as a user, it doesn't matter which blockchain an application is on. It doesn't matter what is the gas token, or it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what assets I hold and assets required to interact with that application. So we are trying to simplify that. From a developer perspective, doesn't matter where I build. Like if I go build on Optimism, my total addressable market shouldn't be just Optimism, right? I should still be able to like get any user that's on chain or that's at exchange or find a way of doing that, right? So that's another thing that you want to solve for. And then composability, right? So composability in very simple terms is that, okay, for example, ETH is required to stake. What if USDC can be used, right? If I don't have ETH, and somebody at the back end is converting my USDC into ETH and staking, right? So that's in a way is composability. Composability across asset, across users and chains, right? So I can stake into Lido with any chain, right? Even though I have funds on Arbitrum, should I be able to stake or not? I mean, ideally, we should be. So this is what we are moving towards, and there are a lot of words there, but I would not want you to read all that. In very simple terms, what we're trying to focus on at Socket is, can we have an application-centric design in blockchain, right? Where like a lot of Web 2, right? So if I go to Instagram, I am consuming whatever a content creator is creating. It doesn't matter where the creator is based. It doesn't matter what platform they are using to shoot the content, right? I'm not aware about those things. What I care is, okay, like what are the top 5 spots in Edinburgh to go and eat, right? Like that's it. And that's how blockchain should be. Like it shouldn't matter which application a chain is built on. It shouldn't matter what assets that application accepts. So in a way, like what we want is to be applications to be at the center of user, right? Like much like centralized exchanges, I think they are probably the best application in crypto today. You go to Binance, doesn't matter like which chain an asset was issued on, you can trade Solana, you can trade Ethereum, you can trade Bitcoin, you can stake, you can participate in DeFi, all with just one application, right? So that's problem is that Binance is off chain, so how do we get that kind of experience on chain, right? So yeah, applications are a gateway and at the center of where users are. Applications take care of all the cross chain or like actions for you. Like so if application wants to accept an asset which you don't have, they figure out how to get that asset and you are able to use whatever you have, right? Applications kind of serve as the glue, and which is very simple, right? It's how Web 2 is. Like you have networks like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Users are hooked to the network. They don't go out and figure out, okay, what else is there. Apps are free from need to choose where to build, right? So if I build on my favorite chain or the chain which my friend has built on and I'm aware about that chain, that's it for me, right? And everybody across the blockchain universe can come and use my application on that chain. So they don't need to figure out which chain is this. And yeah, I think in a way it covers like you are in one chain but you are everywhere simultaneously, right? So this is like what we have been focusing on a lot, and we have been able to see some early use cases, right? So to give a few, like I've quoted 3 here which teams are already in the process of building or have built out. So first one is by a team called ZeroDev, very active on the account abstraction side. They have built something called magic accounts, which is in a way like what we call chain abstracted accounts which enable users to use Ethereum or more like EVM chains as one, and you can use your assets on any chain without having to bridge, without having to spend any gas. Like you don't need ETH for gas to do any action on any chain, and without any latency. I have got a case study also around, like not a case study but yeah, scenario around this which we'll discuss later. Second is Bungee. So what we are trying to do is move into a global liquidity marketplace where any user is able to sort of trade any asset as long as that asset has some kind of liquidity. So doesn't matter, like more like a centralized exchange, so doesn't matter where that asset is issued. If I want to buy an asset, I just come to Bungee and do that, right? And third is, which is very interesting, which is an application built by Kinto team. So Kinto is a L2 on top of Bitcoin in EVM L2. So what they have done is that, so whenever you like build a new chain, you try to bootstrap a basic DeFi ecosystem, right? So you need a swap, you will try to get some yield protocols, you will try to get some lending protocols, you will try to capture some TVL, right? And bootstrapping liquidity is painful. It's not easy. So how the team is solving for it is they are not trying to bootstrap any liquidity in the ecosystem. They are saying that okay, there are all the chains which have liquidity. There is Arbitrum with billions of dollars of TVL log. There is Optimism, there is Base. Can we just not tap into that liquidity? So that's what they're trying to do. So if you are using Kinto and you want to do a swap on Kinto, rather than using liquidity on Kinto because there is none, they'll take you to Arbitrum or Base, they'll find the best liquidity source for a token, go swap and then bring assets back to Kinto. And right now, with chain abstraction, this whole experience of moving assets between chain is becoming so easy that as a user, you'll not even realize that your assets left the chain in the first place. So what it helps is that Kinto now taps into liquidity of any blockchain that they want to, getting all the assets that are available on that blockchain into Kinto without having to do all this bootstrapping or liquidity, right? Okay, I think, so a funny example. So I talked about chain abstracted accounts. I'll try to run by a simple example of that, right? And this happens to a lot of us. Like this personally happens to me where I want to like buy some asset on some chain, but I don't have enough funds on that chain, right? Like it could be a meme coin, it could be an NFT, and I'm like, now I need to figure out, okay, how do I get assets on that chain and then do some action, right? So in this scenario, a friend wants to buy a Pudgy. I know Pudgy, you'll not get Pudgy Penguin for 5,000 USDC, but let's assume in this case we do. So my friend wants to buy Pudgy, but he has funds on, or they have funds on 3 chains, 2,000 USDC on Optimism, 2,000 on Base, and 2,000 on Arbitrum, right? Now, how would they go about it? Like any suggestions? What should they do in this case? Like what would you do if you were in this scenario?
I wouldn't buy a Pudgy Penguin.
Let's assume we are past that. You want to buy. That is the NFT to buy. You don't want to miss out on that.
Swap everything to ETH and bridge to mainnet.
You three bridge transaction, 3 swap transaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's definitely one way to go. That you bridge thrice, right? You might need to swap because there are zaps where you can just come mine, bridge and swap into one transaction. But yeah, like if I go into solutions, there is one is okay, you go to a bridge, you look for a bridge, you try to bridge, right? You do 3 different bridge transactions to mainnet. Second solution is zaps where you can combine bridge plus the purchase also, but it works if it was like from one chain to another. It won't work in 3 chain scenario, right? I'll not avoid option 3 obviously. So yeah, like, so if you were to go use a bridge, and this is something which we tried, so it will take you 40 clicks to finally get those 3 USDC balances into mainnet, right? And yeah, a lot of time because bridges aren't that fast. you can obviously zap, but zap works like if you had all that 5,000 USDC on one chain, so you then can zap into Ethereum and also buy the NFT all in one trade, but you can't because assets are on different chains. So what you're left with is a chain abstracted way of doing it, right? So yeah, I mean, this doesn't cover the solution, but this is what we are looking to do. Okay, is there a way of where somebody can help me buy that NFT and then go back and take those funds because I already have the funds, they are on chain. It's just I don't have them on one place, right? So this might be a slightly technical, but this is how the architecture is for this particular use case. So here I tell, okay, I want to buy this NFT and I have 5,000 USDC. So somebody, a solver, and in this case like a paymaster or solver, because this example is from like a count abstraction world, so just bear with me on this. But yeah, so for example, I'll take this, like Massiage has $5,000 on Ethereum mainnet and I have 5,000 across these three chains. So what Massiage will do is, okay, he'll say, I'll buy this NFT for you and I'll give it to you and I'll go back and claim those funds from your balance, right? And this is what happens here. So Massiage will buy the NFT, he's very kind. He's like, I have funds lying around, I have nothing to do with them. So he just goes and buys the NFT and he gives it to me. And then once he has proven that he has bought the NFT and sent it over to me, he can just go back and claim on those. Okay, I probably funds and yeah, ignore 200, it was 2000, and yeah, I need to correct that. But yeah, go back and claim from wherever I have funds, right? So this is one application or like one example. So this is Magic Spend Plus Plus is the framework that we propose to build chain abstracted accounts. We are not building this. A lot of teams are using the framework to build, but it gives you a perspective, right? I think that's everything I had to talk about chain abstraction. Briefly about Socket. So Socket has been live since 2021. The goal was to make this whole interaction between user and application easier. The way to go about it was cross-chain, so build a cross-chain protocol. We have service volume around 11 billion USD so far, 9.5 million transactions. We have also supported chain secure TVL via different product which I'll not cover, but yeah, we have helped teams secure 140 million in TVL. There are 200 plus applications that use Socket today. Some of the notable ones include Coinbase Wallet, MetaMask Wallet, a lot of wallets, a lot of smart wallets. We have GMX among the derivative side, and among the most popular applications, actually Polymarket also uses Socket under the hood. So a lot of sports betting is being powered by us. Very interesting. Like best use case of crypto is when you are able to like gamble on things, right? So we love our tokens, we love our meme coins, we love our prediction markets, be it sports, be it politics. And I think the way things are heading, I think everybody is looking to tokenize something on chain, right? So all the banks are trying to, like BlackRock is trying to tokenize assets on chain. So I think it's going to be interesting from an application perspective that a lot of these assets get tokenized, and the moment they get tokenized, there's a market, and those market needs to be chain abstracted in a way, right? You can't go and tell them, okay, I have this asset on chain, but you can buy it only with this token, or you can only buy it if you are on this chain with this token, right? So what we're trying to do is build tech for that, where user and applications don't spend a lot of time figuring out, okay, which is the asset, which is the chain, XYZ, you just do whatever you want, and we are there at the back end to ensure the seamless experience. So I think that's probably everything I had. If you have any questions, you can connect with me on Telegram or X. I am available at sid_onchain. My LinkedIn is Siddharth Kaushal. My email is sid@socket.tech. I'll come to you, sorry. And you can scan this. This has, I think this is linked to white paper of Socket, which we dropped last month. You can read more about it. You can follow us on Twitter at Socket Protocol. Thank you so much for listening to me.